Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm Bruce McCurdy of the Edmonton Journal's Cult of Hockey, and I'm here tonight with my Cult of Hockey co-writer and colleague, Kurt Leavins. Hey, Kurt, how are you tonight?
Well, I'd probably like you. I'd be better with a different result, but all things considered, not bad, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. It'd be better with a different result. Oilers had a 3-1 lead with just 8 minutes to play and seem to be in position to close out the game as they've closed out so many lately. But Toronto's second line kind of ate up Edmonton's second line down the stretch. Got a couple of goals, got a good bounce in there, and add that to the good bounces. Kurt, where'd you go?
I think I have another person trying to call me right now, but
okay.
I'll decline that for now and see if I come back.
Sure.
There I am.
Okay, yeah, there you are.
Sorry about that.
You know what? We won't bother to try and fix it. People are used to glitches between David and me. We usually have one or two a night, so
yeah.
Talk up another one. So it was a strange and interesting game of which I'll let you make the argument as to which team was the better team and deserved to win. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Leafs narrowly were the better team. Certainly, they had the edge in shots. Yeah. I thought both goaltenders were comparable, although Mike Smith was certainly tested more. So I think, the edge in goaltending goes to him. But I think in terms of possession, shots on net, etc., I do think the Leafs were narrowly the better team on the night. Having said that, that's a game you got to win. And the point's okay. The Oilers have not been picking up many loser points this year. So if I set my emotion aside, that's not insignificant because now we're 8 points up on Vancouver, right, who are in fifth spot right now. So that's significant. But still, 3-1 that late, you got to win that game.
Yeah, they close that out. They're tied with Toronto, and the way it turned out, they're 3 points behind Toronto. So that was kind of a bitter pill to swallow down the stretch when things have been going well for the most part. I wasn't thrilled with how the Oilers were defending in the third period. That they were in closeout mode the way we'd seen against other teams, but shall we say lesser teams in recent times, and they weren't totally sharp after having the week off, but they survived the first period. And I thought once they got through that, and especially once they got through the second, ahead 3-1, I thought things were really going our way. But that's unfortunately not how things turned out. So we're going to do our usual thing: 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. And so, as usual, let's start off with our good things, 1 each. And Kurt, you take the lead.
Well, then I'll start off with the guy who I thought was the best player on the ice tonight, with all due respect to John Tavares, who I thought was excellent for the Leafs. I thought he was Toronto's best player. But I thought the best player on the ice was Leon Draisaitl. I thought that first line overall was exceptional tonight. And Leon was a massive part of that. 3 points on the night. And all 3 goals, I mean, all of them had something special about them, which is what you get when you have a superstar playing at the top of his game. I mean, on that first goal, it was that little play in his own, deep in his own zone by Draisaitl that spit the Oilers out of the zone and sent them up the ice. And eventually, of course, Nurse popped that one 5-hole to tie the game at 1. But a real smart, clever play in his own zone by Draisaitl to draw the assist on that. The second goal was a one-timer, and I thought that one-timer that Leon scored on was very similar to the one that he scored on from Connor a few nights ago now. Seems like forever since we played last. It was a stunning pass through the seam by McDavid, but it was on and off Leon's stick in a heartbeat. I mean, that thing was gone. Beautiful goal. Then on the third goal, if you wind the tape back a little bit, it's Leon's takeaway
Yep.
behind the attacking team's goal line. He steals the puck. It pops out into the corner, comes back to him, and then the no-look backhand to Barry, who is darting into the slot. And I swear, if that pass is a little bit this way or a little bit that way, Barry has to double clutch, and I don't know if he scores that goal.
Right.
But it was right on the tape without him even looking at him. And it was just a spectacular play. And there was a few others tonight as well. I thought that Leon was one of the few Oilers that didn't display much rust. I thought the energy level on the club overall was decent. But in terms of the players who really looked sharp, I thought Leon was the one guy offensively who did, and it looked like that on the score sheet as well.
3 points on 3 goals. Hard to argue. So, for my good thing, I'm going to recognize netminder Mike Smith, who, if you look at the stat sheet, you'll see 31 shots against 4 goals and 8-something save percentage, and say, well, that's not all that good. And it isn't all that good. I'm prepared to cut him a break on 3 of the goals against that were results of some very unfortunate bounces from an Oilers perspective. The first goal, well, we'll talk about the bounces in a bit, I guess, but let's talk instead about the saves that Mike Smith made. A number of them bang saves from close range. He robbed Austin Matthews a couple of times. He stoned John Tavares. He robbed Mitch Marner. Like, Toronto's best players were getting some great chances from close range, and Smith was shutting the door. And the biggest of all was the fantastic save he made maybe 10 seconds after Toronto had tied the score 3-3. That would have given Toronto a 4-3 regulation win. And as bad as losing this game the way the Oilers lost, it sucks. Losing it in regulation would have sucked a lot worse.
Yes.
So, at least they can take away a point. And as you say, put a little distance between them and Vancouver and come away with something from this game other than crushing disappointment.
I totally agree. I thought Mike Smith deserved a lot better than he got tonight. Thought he was really, really sharp. I agree. I thought on 3 of the 4 goals, I don't put Smith at fault at all, and I don't really blame him on the other one either. So I agree with you. He was sharp and faced more rubber than the guy at the other end of the ice. You hate not winning a game when your goaltender plays that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tippett went out of his way to mention that in the post game, that he thought he was disappointed that his team wasn't able to win that game for Smith. But anyway, it was I can't really look back and say, well, he really should have had that one. There was a couple of saves he made that were kind of sketchy, that he was fighting the puck a little bit, but he was keeping it out of the net, which of course is job number 1. But
well, like that one save he made on Marner. He was initially, Mike was going the other way.
Yes,
and it was his leg that he dragged that made the save. Unorthodox to say the least, but still was a huge stop, right? So
Yeah. So let's turn the page and let's talk each about our bad thing. Again, just one each. So I mean, this game wasn't a complete catastrophe by any means, but I think we can each find a bad thing to talk about. You go first.
Yeah, I could pick from a few. But you know what? I'll focus on the Oilers' second line tonight. I honestly thought the matchup of the 2 second lines was the difference in this game. And when you look at the score sheet, that they line up. I thought the Tavares line was excellent. I already mentioned I thought John Tavares was the best Leaf tonight. But the 3 players on that second line, Nugent Hopkins, Yamamoto, and Cahoon, were the only 3 Oilers forwards who were a minus in the game. And when you look at possession, the second line was absolutely crushed 5-on-5. I mean, it wasn't even close. Nugent Hopkins centering the line, 11% on faceoffs, won 1 draw out of 9. That's not going to get it done. I'm prepared to cut Yamamoto a little bit of a break, I guess, because he's coming off the disabled list. And there's going to be a little bit of rust there. So if I'm kind, I cut him some slack. but I'm not kind with the turnover that Dominic Cahoon committed in the neutral zone. At that point in the game, it's awful puck management. That puck has to get deep. There's no question about it. He was fully in possession of it. No excuse in it. Bam, it turned around and away we went. And that's kind of felt like how the play went again between the two second lines on this night. And I suspect there's a lineup change coming before the rematch of this game, because I don't think that second line isn't going to win you many hockey games, at least not playing like that.
Not against John Tavares and company.
Right, John Tavares, I mean, this guy's an Olympian, right? He's as far as I'm concerned, he's an elite NHL player.
Yeah.
And I have lots of respect for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but he got soundly outplayed tonight. And I think something's got to give, and I won't be surprised if Dominic Cahoon is sitting out the next one. So.
Well, he would be the one to target of the three. I mean, obviously, Nugent's going to be in the lineup somewhere, and Yamamoto, as you say, was just coming back. I thought he looked a little rusty and a little sort of indecisive, which is not usually his issue. But Cahoon, like I said, that turnover, like he did kind of get trapped on a high-speed trap in the neutral zone. But once he got to center, you're right, that puck has to go deep. You got a 2-goal lead. The clock is your friend. Get it in there. Get forward checking. See if you can knock 15 seconds off the clock. Get the hell to the bench and let the next line cycle out there.
And you know what? The two previous plays to that, Bruce, Oilers forwards did do that. Zach Cassian was one of them. In fact, I think he actually glanced up at the clock and then flipped it deep, right? That's the veteran play that has to be made there, and Cahoon didn't, and the team paid for it.
So here's my question. You say you change Cahoon on that line. Do you change the concept and you go back to Draisaitl in the middle because Nuge couldn't handle Tavares? Or am I oversimplifying when I say that?
No, I don't think you're oversimplifying at all. I think it's a very reasonable question to ask, and I'm not sure I know what the answer is. I think I'd put Ennis on that line for one, because if we swap those two players, I think Tyler Ennis at that point in the game gets that puck deep. So maybe I'm oversimplifying too. But if it's a one-for-one change, I don't think you get scored on that shift if you have a different guy on the left side. I don't know, because the McDavid Draisaitl Puljujarvi line, and I thought he had a very good game too. I thought he played well. They were the best line on the ice, and so I'm a little reluctant to break them up, because they were the reason we had three. So it's a good question. I'm sure Dave Tippett's rolling over in his head as well. My answer is I'm not sure.
Some genuine magic on a couple of those goals, and especially the middle goal where they combined to put Edmonton ahead, where McDavid won a race to a puck and chipped it over the blue line. I knew right then the Toronto defenseman, I think it was Hall, was in big trouble.
Yep.
And sure enough, McDavid got wide ice on him, and then Draisaitl was just smart enough to slow down as he cruised into the slot to give a little bit of space between, because the other defenseman, of course, is trying to watch McDavid and Draisaitl, and Leon just kind of eased up a little bit and created maybe 3 or 5 feet more separation between him and the D-man. And of course, McDavid put the perfect feed right in there, and Leon did what Leon does and put her in the net with authority.
And seconds before that, Leon had, leaving from his own blue line, had busted his ass to help create the odd man rush.
Right.
But then you're right, by slowing down, he created some gap between himself and the defender, and that was key to being able to get that shot off. What a marvelous play.
Right on. So anyway, that was the first line, and so obviously that's not our bad thing. In fact, you already kind of labeled it as our good thing, and the second line not so much. My bad thing is what we call in the Oilogosphere the hockey gourds. Many people would just call them the hockey gods, and they are evil hockey gourds. They do not like the Edmonton Oilers, and they have not liked the Edmonton Oilers for a long time, at least on the ice. Maybe we got lucky in a couple of draft lotteries along the way. But holy moly. I mean, Toronto got 2 goals tonight that were just pure flukes in terms of the bounce of the puck. The goal that opened the scoring was just a routine play down low. Darnell Nurse got a piece of it. The puck popped high in the air out of Mike Smith's line of vision. It came down and it landed on the top of Smith's helmet, and then it came down and it bounced off of his arm and into the net. So it hit Nurse, it hit Smith again. And in between time, a Toronto player tried to glove the puck and he missed it. So that didn't, all it did was distract Smith into, trying to make a play on it, but because he didn't touch it, it was perfectly legal.
Yep.
And as a result, I mean, the goal was legal. It was just crap. And it's like third Saturday night in a row. The first goal of the game has been scored against the Oilers. All three of them have been crap. We got the Vancouver rugby goal where they were given a 10-second attempt to try to get the try, and they did. And then last Saturday when Winnipeg opened the scoring on a double deflection that hit Adam Larson and then Andrew Kopp in the shin pad and bounced off the ice and right inside the post. At least that was more of a sort of normal bad luck goal. And then, of course, on the 3-3 goal tonight, the puck deflected, or the pass from behind the net was going off to the side, and it got deflected right into the slot, right onto the stick of William Nylander.
And that was off Russell's skate, right?
Yeah, I think it hit Russell in the skate, and Smith was playing it to go to the left, and by the time he reacted to it being on Nylander's stick, Nylander had the open side, and he put it in there. Again, I don't really blame Smith. It was just a really sort of fortuitous bounce for Toronto, their second one.
Yeah.
And then we get to the game-winning goal, scored officially by Austin Matthews, and it was a play where Edmonton did have possession of the puck, and they tried to break McDavid up the middle, and Toronto got possession. And McDavid came back on the back check, and Matthews, I don't know, Kurt, he kind of picked him off to me, but
there was a pick. Yeah,
there was big contact, and it slowed McDavid down, and Matthews just kept going, and it turned a 3-on-3 into a 3-on-2, and of course the puck came back to Matthews, and he tries to shoot towards the net. Draisaitl gets his stick in there and deflects the puck sideways and presumably out of danger until it hits a second Oiler, Darnell Nurse, on the leg and bounces right into the open side of the net. Again, a double deflection that had eyes. It's like the net has a magnet in the back of it for pucks to go in it off of these frickin' deflections.
Yeah.
And a night where Toronto had already got an extraordinarily fluky goal, that is a real crappy way to lose.
Yeah. And a crappy way to end an otherwise entertaining
crappy way to win.
Right? Yeah. No, it's I don't hold it against the Leafs for winning, but when you have two really entertaining clubs like the Oilers playing a really tight game like the one they played, to have that one win it kind of sucks. So
yeah. Well, when they played the Oilers' other overtime game of the season was also against Toronto 8 weeks ago tonight. Also decided in the first minute of overtime on a goal by McDavid from Draisaitl, but that was a beauty. Like, it was a good, clean goal. This one was just hockey gourds decide they want Toronto to win. Frustrating. I mean, obviously, I'm being facetious to a degree, but you can call it what you want. You can just call it shitty bounces if you like, and that's what they were. But Toronto got at least two, arguably three of them that led directly to goals.
I would have said 3, so I'm right with you. So
frustrating.
Yep.
Kurt, what's your number?
115.
Oh.
115 are the combined points that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have to this point in the season. 35 games in, they have 115 between them. That's the most by a pair of Oilers since 87-88. When guys named Wayne and Mark had combined for 132.
Wow.
Not since has a pair at the 35 game mark had as many points as Connor and Leon has. And it kind of speaks to the point when you're asking, do you break up that first line? Well, boy, I don't know. They're damn near impossible to stop when they're playing together. That's a difficult thing to kind of back away from. And you can see the kind of company they're in with the production that they're creating. So that's my number for tonight. Bruce, what's yours?
Yeah, I think most since 87-88, but the record would have been set a few years before that. I know there was 2 different years where Wayne Gretzky alone had 100 points by the 35 game mark.
Right.
Imagine, 100 points, and I think 34 was his best. And so, of course, in one of those years, one of his line mates would have had, probably Curry had 50 kind of thing at the same time that Wayne had 100. And
Yeah.
so it is an extraordinary number, and the two of them have opened up a pretty wide lead on the NHL scoring race. So
They certainly have.
3 goals tonight, and they got 5 points between them. What does that tell you? Anyway.
And if I remember right, in the 3 games that we lost to Toronto consecutively in Edmonton, I think those guys had 1 assist between them in the 3 games, did they not?
Yeah. They had Draisaitl set up Nugent Hopkins for the only goal that Edmonton scored in the series.
Right.
So they both had a bee in their bonnet tonight, and I was anticipating a big game for them, and I would say we got it, but there wasn't quite enough.
Yes.
Support, puck luck, and whatever else to get the job done. And, McDavid came so close to scoring right after Toronto made it 3-2. McDavid had a great chance and was robbed by Campbell. And, he tried to put it in under his arm, and he just fought it off and just missed the post on the way through.
I thought young Campbell was pretty decent. I think he might have wanted to have that first one, but he made a couple saves later in the game that I thought kept the Oilers from extending the lead, and I thought he was pretty decent tonight.
Yeah. So for my number, I'm going to go with 33%, which was the Oilers' success rate on the face-off dot tonight. 15 face-off wins, 30 losses. So literally 1 out of 3 along the way. And now, extraordinarily to me, and I don't have like huge data on this, but there was 9 face-offs in the first period, 8 whistles in the first period. And I don't ever remember seeing single digits for that. Certainly, it wasn't like it was great pulsating action, but it was continuous action. Other than that time the glass broke, and so they had a bit of a delay there when Chris Russell absolutely crushed. I think it was Kerfoot into the glass. Yeah, and busted the glass. So they had a bit of a delay for that, but they weren't waiting around for face-offs very much because there weren't any, and that was good for the Oilers, I guess, given how bad they were on the dot. Here's the gory details. Jujhar Khaira 1 out of 5, 20%. Leon Draisaitl 5 out of 15, 5 wins, 10 losses, 33%, so bang on the team average. Gaetan Haas 4 wins, 4 losses, 50%. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 1 win, 8 losses, 11%. And I think most of that was against John Tavares, who went a perfect 8-0 in this game tonight.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then finally, Connor McDavid was the only one above water with 4 wins and 3 losses for 57%. But they had basically 3 different centers that were getting crushed on the dot throughout the game. And Toronto started with the puck a lot. And there's also those little plays, little chance where the other team ices the puck, and they got guys that have been out there for 45 seconds, and you send fresh troops over the boards, and you may get a mismatch in your favor if the troops are the first line and the second win guys are a lower line. But you got to win the face-off, or that advantage is gone. So sometimes those are particularly critical draws, and they just weren't starting enough plays with possession of the puck. And I think it was a game, even though there wasn't a game where you could say, well, they lost the face-off and 4 seconds later they were fishing the puck out of their net. But it was a game where they didn't have the puck as much as you would like, and that was part of the reason they were starting without it.
Yeah. And you know what? The story behind the story with Gaetan Haas is he lost 3 consecutive defensive zone face-offs on the penalty kill. 2 on one penalty kill, and then he took the first defensive zone face-off on the next penalty kill, lost it as well. Now, to their credit, the Oilers PK bent but didn't break, and he didn't end up getting tagged for those 3 losses. But it took me back to the conversation that you and David and I had on Friday night on the podcast when we were talking about, what are the Oilers' needs at the deadline? And as I was watching Gaetan Haas lose 1 defensive zone face-off after another on the PK, I thought there would be a good thing to improve. Have someone who's can keep his head above water in that situation, because Gaetan Haas, who's a decent NHL hockey player, who I've got time for, I really do. But he's mired in the mid 40s in face-off percentage, and you might lose one defensive zone draw like that. Shit happens. But to lose 3 back-to-back, I noticed after that he came right off the ice. Leon Draisaitl came on and won the next one. But then you're having to put Leon on the ice over and over and over again in the defensive zone. And then you start to rack his minutes up. So it's a problem they've got to solve, because neither Gaetan Haas nor Jujhar Khaira or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, for that matter, seem to have the ability to win a face-off when you need a face-off one.
Right. And I know after the 2 face-off losses, both times Toronto had a wicked shot on net within 5 to 8 seconds, and Smith made a couple of good saves. And then after the second one, the play stayed alive, and Haas, to his credit, did make a good play inside the blue line to break up a Toronto possession and get it out, and then he got off. But this was after his goalie had bailed him out twice. Yeah, no, for sure. So. And as I said, there's good aspects to Haas's game. He's got really good wheels. He seems like a very intelligent player. Like, I don't see him making dumb plays. A lost faceoff isn't a dumb play. It's a physical battle lost mostly, right? And he just doesn't seem to have the touch. Yeah, well, he played 14 minutes and 20 seconds tonight, and Jujhar Khaira played 8 minutes and 19 seconds. And when you wipe out the penalty kill, it was like 12:45 to 6:29. So Haas was getting double the ice time that Khaira was at even strength. So clearly there's stuff in his game that Dave Tippett likes. But there was that issue on the face-off dot is the thing. And like I said in the podcast last night, it's especially a thing on the penalty kill if you only have one center. But also on the penalty kill, when the other team gets to choose which side of the ice the face-off is, you better have a righty who you can rely on to win his share on your penalty kill unit. Yeah. And I'm not sure the Oilers have that even yet. And all 3 of those losses by Haas were on his strong side. Yes, that's Toronto would have picked that side because all their top guys, or at least their power play guys, are lefties. They also have Jason Spezza, who's a great right-handed face-off man, and they use Spezza as a specialty role as a fogo on the penalty kill, win the draw, get the zone cleared, and then, because I don't think he racks up a lot of minutes, but they said he was the best in the league, 52 wins and 37 losses or something on the penalty kill, which is outstanding as a right shot center, and the Oilers don't have that, and that's a fact. Be nice to have it, though, that's for sure. Well, you mentioned those third and fourth lines. I actually didn't think they were bad. I thought they, for the most part, saw it off. And I remember thinking before we went into the game tonight, I said, I think if our third, fourth lines can saw off, I think we'll win this game. And we almost did. The problem was the second line didn't get the memo. So. Yeah, and the hockey gourds didn't either. No, they didn't memo. Indeed. It was certainly a factor. I think we should call them hockey demons from now on. Yeah. Not bad. A quickie for me. I thought Jesse Puljujarvi was quite good tonight. He had 3 shots on net. He was +1. He made back-to-back sharp defensive plays in his own zone, which really caught my eye. I thought he was solid. That all 3 players in that first line I thought were good tonight. Yeah, Jesse was fine, and he was fine in all 3 zones. He did win. Lots of puck battles along the walls, and some of those were along his own sideboards in the defensive zone, and others were along the end walls in the offensive. So, well, he's got a quick first step. He's got size and he's got reach. So if you use those 3 attributes, you should win a lot of puck battles. And I thought he did tonight, and he was quite successful as a result. So. Anyway, Oilers got 1 power play tonight, which is 1 more than they got in 2 of the games against Toronto at home. But their power play didn't get much of a sniff, did it? No, not really. I said out loud to my wife while we were watching the power play, I said, I'm not seeing a lot of movement on this power play. Right. I thought they were passing the puck back and forth, but I thought the players were too stationary. And that makes for a
predictable power play. And with those 5 guys on the ice, there's no need to be predictable with that level of skill on there. And I mean, some credit to Toronto on the kill side. I mean, they deserve some kudos there as well. But I did think that the man advantage was too stationary, and I just thought it gave the Leafs time to get in lanes and that sort of thing. Yes.
It's more my point. Some nights you get a power play, and the first one is kind of creaky, and the second one gets a couple of dangerous shots. By the third one, you're putting one in the net. Well,
yeah.
Toronto is squeaky clean. Apparently, they've got all the Lady Bing winners on the same team.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. I probably sound like a whiny old grumpy.
Well, no, can't blame you. I think there's probably a lot of people in oil country feel the same way tonight. So.
Yep, I'm sure that's the case.
I wonder if, speaking of lineup, I wonder if we see the Caleb Jones William Lagesson swap for the next game. I thought Lagesson, who I generally like, I thought he struggled with the aggressiveness and the speed of the Maple Leafs forecheck tonight, and he certainly didn't come out well 5-on-5. His 5-on-5 CF is 5.13, 27%. And yes, paired with Larson, but I didn't think I saw Larson struggle the same amount. I thought maybe that second pairing, which is certainly the Oilers' slowest of their 3 pairings, I thought got exposed a little bit by the Leafs forecheck tonight.
Yeah, what I saw from Lagesson was weak handling of the puck. Like, he had the puck in his own zone, clear possession of it 3 or 4 times, and his preferred play was lobbing it out into center, what I call the punt, where you gain a zone, but you lose possession. And it has the equivalent outcome as a punt in football. And of course, you'd rather be carrying or passing that puck out over your own blue line and getting a first down and then moving it up the field, to carry the analogy through. But Lagesson doesn't seem to be very creative with the puck, and his idea of a safe play is off the boards and out, off the glass and out, up high in the air and out. But not much comes out of those.
There was one play in the third period where he had the puck in his own corner to Mike Smith's left and just froze. And there was an Oilers player on either side of them, and he just stood there. And I remember shouting out loud, said, "Well, move it somewhere." Yeah. And I think he eventually just flipped it up in the air. Yeah. But it was a moment of indecisiveness that I thought, that's a rookie D, man. Look, it's that's not really a criticism of him. That's going to happen every so often with young defenders, and we should expect that. But it was a case where I thought, he's in a little over his head there on that particular sequence.
Yeah, well, the Oilers got outshot 7-1 on his watch and outscored 1-0, and that last stat is the critical one.
Yeah, playing with arguably the Oilers' best defender in Adam Larson, right? Yes.
Yep. Anyway, I guess we've gone probably around the horn enough on tonight's game. Any last thoughts or any projections as to what we might expect to see on Monday, besides maybe the 2 lineup changes you suggested?
I'm not too sure in terms of what to expect, except that I think maybe the Oilers will be a little sharper offensively. I mean, it was a long layoff through no fault of their own, and I thought that the first period. I was like you, when we got out of the first period tied 0-0, I thought, well, that's a good thing. So I think their sharpness can probably be expected to be dialed up a little bit in the next game. I think the quality with which Mike Smith played tonight, and given the comment you said that Dave Tippett made about thinking that his team maybe wasn't there for their goaltender, that screams to me Dave Tippett putting Mike Smith back in the net and saying, be better for him this time. I just wonder, what do you think? Yeah,
I got a day off between games. I'm hearing some scuttlebutt that they might be playing in Montreal on Tuesday, that Montreal is scheduled to come back and play a game at Ottawa, but while Edmonton is still out east before they fly home, the suggestion was that the Montreal-Ottawa game will be postponed in order that Montreal can make up one of the games against Edmonton. So
that would make sense.
Play one of those games for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think they'll tip it. Will go to Smith in second game against Toronto.
Yeah. There'd be some guilty incentive there, right?
Hmm. All right. Well, let's leave it there, Kurt. Thanks very much for pinch hitting for David, who's on a little road trip this weekend, and so thank you for stepping up and being the second person on the podcast. And it's great having such a voice of authority sitting in the bullpen for us.
Well, it's always great to chat with you, Bruce. I'm no David, but I'm happy to pinch hit when required. I'm your rusty Staub coming off the bench for the 79 Expos.
All right, hit one in the swimming pool in Jerry Park, and I'll be happy. Anyway, thank you, Kurt. Thanks everyone for listening. Oh, and in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.